everybody. Today we're going to be talking about Twilight Inscription. This game, I know as of the recording of this video, the game's already been released for about a week or so. I was lucky enough to, one of the lucky ones, to grab this game at Gen Con 2022. And I've given this game a bunch of gameplay already. Probably played it about 8 times. And I've done a mixture of solo, 2-player, and 4-player. Haven't hit 8 players yet though, but hopefully that will be coming soon. This is a fantastic game. I think this is one of Fantasy Flight's top games, in my opinion. Right now they've put out, and I'm not usually a huge fan of roll and writes, but this one right here has changed the game for me. There are some roll and writes I do enjoy, but this one right here is a whole different style, and I just really enjoy it. So let's go ahead and take a deep dive into it, and we'll kind of show the components a little bit, and I'll kind of give a quick overview. Open it up, we got the rule book right here. A beautiful illustrated rule book, I would say. And the rules are super simple, y'all. I mean, it's not hard to pick up. I think I've taught the game a couple times now, and in a few minutes, most people are kind of picking it up, ready to play right away. This is something that publishers, any of y'all watching this, you need to start having these in your games. I don't know about you all, but I'm the kind of person that as soon as I get a game, I want to bust it open and start playing it. We all know having to go through the rules, having to learn them, having to figure it out. And sometimes that can take 5 minutes, might take 15, 30, 45 minutes to an hour, and then you got to play through the game, understand the mechanics of it, do a quick playthrough of it, and you're definitely going to fumble around a whole lot as you're playing. Whoever idea this was at Fantasy Flight, thank you, because this was a game changer for me. And there's only been maybe a couple games I can count on my hand that have had something like this that has helped me step by step learn the game, learn the rules, and then I can pick up and play right away. This is actually how I've been teaching most people how to play. So it tells you the setup right here, how to do it. It doesn't give you the full rules, but it gives you the rough idea about what you need to start. And then it takes you through different rounds all together about what you're going to be doing for each round. And it gives you strategies and tips for each thing too. So that way you can learn it as you go, and a little bit about the strategies. As you guys can see right there though too, down at the very bottom, there's strategy tip. So this is by far one of the best things that got me picking up in this game, and probably one of the main reasons that I really do enjoy this game was because perfect walkthrough. I didn't have to read the rule book until I got down to the end here, and then it finally started telling me what all I needed to do to play the game. Once I started going through here, I went back and read the rules, and almost everything was in here is in the rule book. So that's something that I truly enjoy and appreciate. Real quick, this is what you get. So you have giant dice that have your resources, and then you got specialty dice there too. They give you 8 dry erase markers that are all orange. And then here's the rest of the cards. So you have objective cards, speaker cards, and relic cards as well too. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to roll these dice. Your black dice right here are your resource icons. So as you go through it, you're going to roll all the dice. When you get there's certain cards in the game that you'll roll these for. So the different event cards that you have, they're labeled Roman numerals, but there's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. These are like the different kinds of phases or rounds that you're going to use in the game. You start with 1, you go to 5, but there are strategy cards, like this one right here. You see the resource icons down here. So the thing about the game is that the cards, every turn you're going to flip over the cards, and they're going to tell you exactly what you need to do. So this right here says, choose an active sheet and spend this card's resources. Speaker rolls the dice, spend dice resources. So when you see the strategy cards come out, you're always going to have these symbols down here. You choose an active sheet, and you spend the resources on the sheets based off the active sheet that you chose. Then you get to roll all these dice. Whoever the speaker is gets to roll all these dice right here. And the main ones you're going to focus on are the black, darker ones. And then as you play, you'll start to unlock these specialty dice, which have double symbols on them, as you all can see right here. So some of these have double symbols on them. There's still singles on here as well too, though. But as you play through, you'll kind of unlock those. So, but strategy cards, they all have different resource symbols on them though too. But again, they tell you exactly what to do on the card. There's war cards, so yes, there is war in the game. There's production, so you can get trade goods, which is more resources. Trade goods are good for any kind of resources like a wild. Council helps you get votes, for that's more the politics side of the game. There's council, strategy, production, war. The game's going to play through five phases, 5 rounds, until you either hit the Empire Ascendant card during the 5th phase, and it says this round ends immediately. The game will have one more strategy event, and then of course the next card is going to be a strategy event card, because how they have you set the deck up is you're going to alternate. If you guys can notice, there's blue and black backs on these. So as you alternate, you have to alternate blue, black, blue, black, blue, black the whole way through for different phases, and that's how the deck's going to be roughly set up. So it is random. Kind of have an idea about the count of each round that you're going to have, or each phase that you're going to have in the game. So you kind of have an idea what number of cards you're going to have. So you either going to get, when you're going through and you're generating your deck, you're either going to get Empire Ascendant, and then you're going to get a strategy, or you may have one Final War card, which is a Throne for the Taking card, and you're going to have one more fight, and then that's the end of the game right there. Sometimes it can end a little early. Sometimes you might go through the entire deck. So let's take a look at the sheets here. And obviously, Twilight Imperium is known for its scope and gameplay length, anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 to 12 hours or longer sometimes, depending on what you have. This game can be played in about an hour to 2 hours. And I've played it numerous ways, between, like I said, solo up to 4 players. And even with 4 players, we probably played in about 2 hours, roughly, each game we played. We played 2 games back to back. So you figured, 4 hours, 2 games back to back. First one was learning. They picked it up after the first couple cards. And then the second game we played, they knew exactly what they were doing. And it was still roughly about the same amount of time. But we were all strategizing a lot more at that point, because we all knew what we were doing. As far as the cards go, you have Mechatol Rex sheet. And it is double-sided. So the other side is for the solo play, which I've played the solo probably 3 times now, 2 or 3 times. It's got a great AI system. The AI system, it bases everything off of the dice that you're rolling, which you can see the different dice symbols here, the different resource icons. As you're playing the game, flipping through the event cards, you're going to be rolling dice, and that's going to determine exactly what the AI is doing. And the AI can be tough, and it's actually a lot of fun to play with. And you'll play with the AI as solo and 2-player games. AI is a ton of fun. But this one, there's just a lot of different mechanics sometimes for the AI, and it's just a lot to keep up with. This is probably the simplest one that I've ever seen in the games before, though, too. And I just enjoy it. The AI can be really tough, and sometimes it can be pretty easy, but it can create stressful situations. And yes, the AI can get Mechatol Rex too and claim it the same as any other players. But the way the game's going to work with this, though, too, obviously, if you claim Mechatol Rex, then first person to do that writes their name up here. They get 7 victory points, which the double little stars symbols up here are the victory points. That'll focus. And then you have your voting resources, though, too, that you can get as well. So as you go through, everybody can claim it. Depending on which ones claim it, that's going to depend on how many victory points they get or how many voting things they get. Down here is the voting track too. So whenever you're counting up votes during council event cards, then you can write the total number of pass and fail down here too. Backside for the AI, just so you guys can see that too. So you can still write your name up here if you claim Mechatol Rex. And down here, as you go through, there's different phases. You know where you're at with the AI. So how the game will typically be laid out. I'm just going to set away here. You're going to have different sheets, and y'all, there's a lot of sheets. There is a lot of sheets. Every player gets 4 sheets. These are all double-sided. There's A and B sides, and yes, there is a difference on each side. So what you're going to do is everybody's going to get 4 sheets, and they're going to look something like this. You're going to make sure everything's on the same side that it needs to be on, so everybody's on the B side or everybody's on the A side. So you have navigation, expansion, warfare, and industry. And each of these sheets, everybody's going to use. And when I was talking earlier about the strategy card or the event cards, choose an active sheet, spend the resources on that sheet, or spend the card's resources. The speaker rolls the die, spend die resources. Like, for instance, let's just say we have this card right here, which is a fledgling empire. It's typically the first card that most people have. So you pick a sheet that's going to be active. So I can either choose navigation, expansion, industry, or warfare. There are little icons on each sheet that tell you exactly what to do with those icons. So for what we had for fledgling empire, it says claim 1 explored system. So if you notice here, there's those symbols. So it says claim 1 explored system. Explored systems are these little lines right here that you see. So you have other resources you can spend to expand out and navigate throughout the different system. And then claiming is when you circle something. So that gives you resources to be used for later. If you see like the hash lines around here, that usually means that those are resources you can use for later to be spent. Or if you see like the little dotted ones, like this little small one right here for this commodity, those are spent immediately. Down here, you had different technologies. Every sheet has different technologies. So you can either spend special commodity icons that you gain, or you can spend regular resources though too to get this technology. And gravity drive here, like you can explore through wormholes, which there are wormholes in the game, which can allow you to get to places like Mechatol Rex. And then you have victory points as well too, different planets you can gain. And as far as the special dice go, see this sheet down here, there's different dice symbols down here. So as you play, if you unlock the special dice for your sheets, you can unmark it for each sheet that you gain it on. Let's look at warfare. So like on warfare over here, if you win a battle, then you'll get the red die, which you can unlock. You can spend it because it's the little hash line. You can spend it on your active sheet during the sheet's active turn, and you can spend it to activate the die on that sheet. Anytime like you roll the red die, or whenever the red die is rolled during a strategy card, you'll count the red symbols as well as the black die symbols though too for the resources. It's not unlocked once for all sheets. It's unlocked per sheet that you spend that resource icon. For the warfare sheets, so you're going to have 4 different battles during the game. You might only have 3, just depends on the last phase, the 5th phase up here, if you end up getting that war card, that last war card or not, because that'll trigger the end of the game. So you have different ships right here that you'll unlock, then you'll write them on your different spaces down here. There's a battle line, this little orange line down here that denotes each different phase. You have to write above the war line right there. There's different resources you can get too. So as you're drawing your ships, then if any of the lines, little nodes as they call them, touch any of the little special resource icons, then you get that resource. So you can draw, say, like a cruiser in any direction that you want as long as you cover up 3 nodes. And so if I wanted to draw it from vertically, then it'd be 1, 2, 3, and then I'll get that victory point as well too at the end of the game. And then how war works is that you compare your total strength of nodes, however many nodes you have colored in your section. So if you notice, like I said, there's 4 different sections here, and then there's a section on the left, a vertical line right here in the middle, and then a section on the right. You total up the number of nodes that you have here on the left and your right. That's your total strength for your left side, then the vertical line, and then your right side, and then you compare the total strength of the person to your left and to your right. If you win the battle, then you get the top resource icon on the left or right, whichever one you're fighting. And if you lose, then you get the bottom one for each side. And this middle part right here is just where you can draw your total strengths. That way you can remember it for later and save it. These little red things right here, though, too, these are blocked nodes, so you cannot draw or access or draw through them. So they're blocking the path. So that's where some of the strategy kind of comes in with how many ships you can have. Dreadnought and War Sun special ships you have to unlock with having special resource icons. So those you can unlock later in the game as well, too. And you can also spend resources to draw the ships, or you can spend special resource icons as well that you gain through the game too, which you can use to unlock special ships. So that's the warfare sheets. Expansion is where if you have claimed planets from your navigation sheet, so for instance, if you have this planet right here, if you have it circled, and since you've claimed it, then you can spend it. If the expansion is your active sheet, you can spend it, which is put a line through it, to claim one of these planets and unlock them. So you see like the little planet symbol right here, it actually matches one of these symbols right here. You unlock it, then you have these resources right here. So it's just like exploring a planet. You're trying to gather resources on the planet. As you gather resources, you're unlocking special assets on the outside of the planets too. As you get these resource symbols from dice or trade goods or somewhere else, then you can cross them out to show that you've claimed them, and then you can unlock special assets around the thing. So specialty assets we can use can unlock technologies. Space docks down here too, which you can spend either planets that you've claimed or regular resource symbols to unlock special dice. And again, these can be used on any sheet that is your active sheet. You can spend this blue one right here on the warfare sheet if you wanted to, but then you cross out so you spent it, and vice versa on other sheets though too. So as long as whatever you have as your active sheet, if warfare is my active sheet and I want this blue dice symbol, then I can mark it off on here while warfare is my active sheet if I don't have it crossed off already. Technologies down here, special dice symbols down here, so that way you can track dice you have unlocked for that specific sheet. There's also a resource tracker up here too that you can use throughout the entire game. If you get too many resources and it's hard to keep track of everything, then you can just denote them up here. You can just put a little dot on there too, mark them off as you spend them. There's also a population tracker around here too, which there are special symbols, like I said, like right here, the little dotted lines are spent immediately. So as you claim that one, then you get the population track. And you can claim assets by marking off resources in a complete vertical row or horizontal row. Once a whole row is completely marked off and claimed, then you get whatever asset is in vertical or horizontal, depending on how you claimed the resources. And lastly, we have the industry sheet. So industry sheet is more political and trade good stuff. This is kind of like where most of your resources are. This is probably my favorite sheet. I can get a lot of stuff off this one. Trade goods for one. Trade goods count as wild resources. For every 2 that you have in the game that you have not spent, they count as 1 victory point. Good strategy tip, spend the trade goods, in my opinion. 1 trade good could give you 4 victory points. 2 trade goods could give you 4 victory points on another sheet. Whereas if you have 2 trade goods at the end of the game, it's only worth 1 victory point. So spend them as much as you can, as often as you can. Very well, good resources. Voting track up here too. Everybody always starts with 2 votes. You have your different technologies up here. You have your specialty dice symbols over here. You always have your symbols on all your sheets though too. That'll kind of tell you what each symbol can do, what they can unlock, how you can spend them. What you're going to do is you have to either scrap, which is put a line through it, and then to claim a commodity, you have to circle it. So you can only claim commodities if they're already so you're gonna have to scrap a lot of commodities as you play through here. But then as you scrap more, you can expand out, and then you can gain more commodities, and you can also gain better resources though too, like green dice around here. This is a special faction symbol that you can spend for your faction card. So you have your voting track. Like I said, you have 2 votes. Everybody always gets 2 votes to start. Here's where you can mark for the council phase how many votes you want to have for pass or fail. And we'll go over the council cards in a minute. Anytime you get one of these commodities, these are all called commodities. Anytime you gain a commodity either from, say, like navigation, like if you have like this commodity right here, one of the blue ones, then you're going to mark it off on your sheet. You're just going to put a little slash through it right there so that you've gained it. As you gain commodities throughout any of the different sheets, then you're going to mark them off. Every time you fill up an entire vertical row and horizontal row, you're going to gain the benefit that's underneath of it. So for instance, if you get 1 yellow commodity, then you can cross it off there, and then you can draw a line underneath this little +1 trade good right here. During the production phase, you gain a number of trade goods equal to however many of these trade good symbols down here that you've unlocked. Walkthrough of how to play actually tells you to try to get one of these first during this sheet. This is the last sheet you play how to play walkthrough. So it tells you to gain this as quick as possible, and don't worry about anything else, because you want to unlock more trade goods when the production phase comes around. So if you get the yellow one, you'll mark that off. If you get red, blue, and yellow, then you'll get another one. As you go across here, if you unlock, say, 3 yellows, then you'll be able to circle the 1 victory point right there as soon as you have gained all the ones in that row. Same thing over here. If you get 4 blues, then you'll be able to unlock that one. Same way all the way across as you keep gaining. And you can gain all the way up to 5 victory points. Votes, you have to get this symbol right here, the little council symbol. So you get those on different sheets as well, though, too. So like right here, there's one right there. So if you gain that, then you'll mark a little line underneath the +1 check mark. And those are votes that you'll be able to gain during the council phase. So once the council phase card comes out, you gain the number of votes equal to the number of votes that you have underlined here. And then you spend votes just like you do other resources. You'll put a line through it to show you've spent it. And then you can make your votes that way, either pass or fail based off of those cards. So that's a quick overview of how the cards work. There are objectives for each sheet. So I'm going to go over these other cards here real quick. So first off, we have a speaker card. And the backside just tells you what to do during the council phase. It's a cool, quick reference card. Relic cards, which you can get through the game too. These are the relic cards. These are the backs of them. These have either immediate effects or a certain trigger that may make them trigger as well though too. But every relic card has a victory point down at the bottom. So if you get a relic card, it's a nice little bonus and victory points at the end of the game though too for you. And you unlock those typically through the navigation sheet. Here's some of the political cards. So the political cards all have the check mark on the back of them. They all have the different phases down here too. So the way that a 3+ player game will work is that you will shuffle these council cards randomly, and then you pick one for each phase, and then you'll set those out. So when the council phase comes around, then you can unlock them. So to give you an idea about what one of these things look like, so you have a pass and you have a fail, and you have what the vote is going to be on. So this one right here is an embarked spending. And the pass tells you up here, so if there's more yays than nays, this is what's going to happen. And if there's more fails or more nays, then this is what's going to happen there. And sometimes there could be good and bad on both sides and stuff, but you can debate during the game as you're playing to try to win votes over, to try to get in your favor some way. Sometimes the fails might be good for everybody. Sometimes it might be bad for everybody. Sometimes you might want to strategize and try to screw over your opponent. And if you have 12 votes you haven't spent the entire game, then use it for that if you want to, if you're trying to mess up something. So there are pros and cons to both. You can argue, you can talk about it however you want to. And at the end of the day, then everybody votes secretly on their sheet, and they reveal what they have, and then the speaker's going to tally up the votes, and then you determine if there's pass or fail, and then you do the effect based off of that. Now, if you're doing the AI actually tells you to, if you all notice these little star symbols right here, so you'll have a stack of like all the four phase together, and you flip over the top card, and if there is no star symbol, then you flip over until you get a star symbol for one of them, and then you take the speaker card and you cover it up like this, kind of like that. So you have at least one star reference and then one without. And at that point, that actually might be good for you or it might be bad for you. Just depends on how it goes. So we had pass up here. So each player may cross out any number of explored, unclaimed systems to claim an equal number of explored systems. And then, so that was the star one. And then down here, the player who casts the most fail votes chooses a commodity type. Each player crosses out all victory point assets in that commodity types row of the industry chart. So the fail right there is actually bad. This one up here is good. So that one's actually how that one will play out. And sometimes it can be differently though too. Here is the objectives. So there are different objectives for each type of sheet. So blue is going to be navigation, green's expansion, yellow's industry, and then red is warfare. First person to claim the objective gets the bigger victory point number, and you flip the card over to show that the first one's already been claimed, and then anybody else that claims it can get 4 victory points after that. And you choose one of these. There's 3 for each sheet, and you choose one of these randomly at the beginning of the game, and that's the objective for each sheet. We have these larger cards. So you have asset reference cards right here. They're double-sided. They tell you what each thing does. And there's one for everybody in the game. Next, you have the factions. There are plenty of factions. I don't know if it's all of them. I think it's all of them. But there are plenty of factions. As far as the factions go, so different factions, they all have different setups. They all have different abilities. So there's different abilities. Some of them have different setups. I'll tell you right there too, like setup. Of course, that little symbol I mentioned earlier in the video is this little special symbol right here. So that's a special faction symbol right there that if you gain that symbol and then it triggers the ability down here. Tons of different options right here. You typically will deal out 3 faction cards to each player and then they choose one. You can read the backs of the card, so it has different lore for the backs of each faction. The last thing I'm going to discuss is these markers. I'm going to tell you what I don't like about these markers. They look nice on the sheet, okay? They're orange, they look nice. It's going to mark nice. See, look at that. You can see it. Shows up perfectly. It looks spacey. It's cool, right? These are super wet, and you got to wait for them to dry because the sheets are super smooth, so you got to wait for them to dry. But even if you wait for them to dry, they start to dirty up these erasers. And I would suggest a tissue or paper towel to wipe it all off. It's probably your best option. Otherwise, they're going to get super gunked up like this one did. And that camera does not even really show how nasty this thing is. I mean, it is caked on there, y'all. It's like tar on this. And it won't really erase. I know, yes, you can even take them off, flip it around, do whatever. Get a new side. I've tried rinsing them off. I've tried cleaning it off. It doesn't really help that much. Paper towel or tissue. And if you have a nice game table, you know, like nice mat stuff, it can get on there. And it will get on there if you're wiping it off with paper towel or tissue or even erasing it with these things. Be mindful of that, but this thing's not even wet and it's just wiping it off though. But it can get messy, unfortunately. That's my only complaint about these. These just look nice and they come with the game. They work fine. I don't know if it's me or what. So if any of y'all have any different experiences than me, please let me know. Maybe I'm just singled out. But that's a quick overview of the game. Hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, this is probably one of my favorite games right now. This is fantastic. The rules are fantastic. The play as you learn sheet is still by far my most favorite thing of this game right here. Step by step, setup, how to play. I didn't have to even read the rule book. This has almost all the rules in it. So I used the rule book just for the quick reference. More publishers, please put out these. If I can teach everybody how to play the game, including myself, by using one of these, setup, walk through everything, I would be willing to pay extra for something like this, if anybody had it. YouTube videos I know are free. YouTube videos here are 30, 45 minutes long. This walks you through everything. Setup, play through, every card, everything. This is the way to go. Thank you all for coming to my channel. Thanks for watching this video. If you like what you see, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for stopping by.